So yeah, now the Docker swarm. Go ahead.
Yes. So now we'll check our Docker swarm status. So for that, the command is sudo docker system info. Then I will grep it. So you can see swarm is inactive. Now we have to activate it to work with this Docker swarm. And Docker swarm installed with the Docker package. So we don't need to install it again. There is nothing to install Docker swarm. We just initiate it. So for the sudo docker,
So it is installed by default with the docker.io, but it stays inactive. So to start using it, we have to initiate it, means activate it. Init means initialization, and it did.
okay, and now if we do grep, now we can see that swarm is activate. So previously it was inactivate, now it is activate. And here another thing to be noticed, like you can see here is swarm initiated, the message after initializing it, swarm initiated and current node is now a manager. So in Orchestrator, there is a manager node and the like there is a other node also. So while we'll initiate in a machine, it will be treated as the manager node. So it is now as a manager node, and if you want to join to this docker swarm or docker swarm pool, then we can join with this token as a worker node, but now we don't need it. So we'll
So
discuss it any later on any other workshop or any other thing. So
basically,
let's
if we want to like the created 10 like the EC2 now, we can create those, and we all want those 10 machine be part of this cluster, means part of this swarm manager, means they will be reporting to this manager. We each of the machine we have to initiate, we have to install the Docker, then you have to run this command each of the machine. Once we are done it, then each machine is reporting to this manager directly. That's it. Nothing else we need to do. Am I right?
yes. Okay, now we'll create our Docker Swarm stack file. So its name is vim-stack.yml. And inside this file, we have to write down some configuration, and the configurations are this. So it's kind of similar like the Docker Compose one. Like here, we have to also create two service and images, ports. We have to mention all of them and the version. So it is like same as the Docker Compose one, but yet Docker Swarm offers us various kind of services. But for our application, we don't need anything more. But we can make a lot of things, or we can manage a lot of things with this Docker Swarm.
Because
So
the
we are just
Docker,
deploying it. So we are just mentioning the image name and the port names.
so Docker Compose does not is not acting as a manager. Compose does not play as like a node. Compose does not like the up or down any of the container specifically. It is up or down everything. It does not do any scaling or anything else. All it does run many containers from the one compose file. On the other hand, Swarm is the cluster. It can manage one node to the hundreds of node, and it can distribute the work. It can it can know if the node is down. It knows if node is up. It knows if a node is unreachable. It knows if a node is not taking the traffic from the end users. It knows everything else because the cluster is the master. So manager knows all of this. That's the reason it's called the manager. So it is completely different than the Docker Compose.
Yep. So now, if we have to deploy that stack file, the command for that is sudo docker stack deploy, and we need to give it a name for the deployment, and then -c, then the stack.yml file. That means the YML file name. If I hit enter,
What the C means? What did the C represent here?
this is the stack file indicating the stack file name.
Got it. Okay, yes, it's create. Okay.
Okay, now if we do sudo docker ps, you can see this is the containers which is just created with those images which we have mentioned in the stack file. So if now we go to our site, so this is our IPs which was previously down.
So one thing to recap, to use the Docker Swarm, you need to have the Docker file to be done. And they of course can be, they can be on the Docker Hub or in the local machine, no problem. But you need to have the Docker file to be ready. Then you can do the Docker Swarm. In order to do the Docker Compose, you have to have the Docker file to be ready. So Docker file is your actually the configuration file for each of the application, either front end, back end, or any microservices. So you just cannot jump onto the Docker Compose without the Docker file, not going to work. You cannot jump onto the Docker Swarm without the Docker file, it's not going to work. Docker file is actually your application, the file. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now we can see again our server. If you hit our server, we can see the application. This is our front end and this is our back end, which was down. Like when we down the compose file, it was down and now it is up again because now we have deployed in a cluster. So that's how mainly Docker Swarm works.
Exactly. So if we actually again, if we want to create another cluster, how long it will take? It will take just all you need to create the machine, and then you need to use the Docker, and then you can pull the image, it's running. Because the same, you have everything else is ready. That's the benefits. As I mentioned in the beginning, we did not install the Node.js, we did not install the NVM. Remember? Do you like the remember everything? We are not doing one. Anytime we came with the Docker word, everything already mentioned in the Docker file. Docker file takes care of everything itself. So that's actually the benefit, the packaging, shipping, and go run. That's the Docker does. And in this one, you can easily, now this application, at the moment, this application is ready to be scaled at this moment. How? Because now, if we just create the 10 other nodes and they join in the same cluster, they're good. So means the same application now, 100,000 people can work. We all need only 15 minutes. Just create the machine, install a Docker, their already cluster is ready. So 100,000 people should be able to use, because that's the power. You are creating the infra on the go, and you are joining your node on the manager on one command, and they're ready to go. That's the power of the, like nowadays, all this modern, the DevOps tools. Good? Did you cover everything?
Yes.